would like to invite my next friend up to the stage. The man needs no introduction. Andy Schectman and I go way back. Way back. Come on up, Andy. So, Andy Schectman has run a company for a very long time called Miles Franklin. And one day he called me, he said, Bix, I know, he's got his dagger. He said, Bix, I love what you're doing. I want to help the Road to Ruta crowd. Let's do an interview. Let's talk and we'll discuss things and I'll offer them a deal they can't refuse. He said, I will offer Road to Ruta members the best price anywhere they can get it. Have him call me and he'll get them the best price. He has helped so many people get physical silver in their own possession. Lately, Andy is amazingly popular. He's on everybody else's YouTube channel, by the way, which is awesome. I mean, don't be selfish, I know. The more people who understand what's going on with our government, what's going on with the money system, and the ways around it and out of it. Gold, if you have to. Silver, and cryptos, certain cryptos. I look at it like this. Silver's been rigged by our government for 170 years, ever since the Opium Wars, when England basically screwed China by getting everybody addicted to opium to send all the silver back to China that they were buying silks and stuff like that. So for 170 years, in different forms, our government and our banks have been suppressing the price of silver. The Hunt Brothers, I love the Hunt Brothers. They were the best. So that's what I see silver as. And we are exposing how they do it now. They do it with computers and they do it with derivatives on derivative exchanges. The COMEX is the worst exchange, and our regulators are criminal. Our regulators are even worse than the criminals who do it because our regulators run cover for the manipulation, saying, oh, we have to, regulate silver so that the little guy doesn't get screwed. It's more like we have to regulate silver to provide cover for the bankers who's screwing the little guy. That's what they're really doing. They admitted it actually last year. Does anybody remember that little run-up of silver to $30? Oh my God, heaven forbid that silver hits $30. The head of the CFTC, the regulator, said, oh, we almost lost control of silver. We had to tamp the price down. That's the head of the regulator saying, luckily we were able to tamp the price down of silver because it might have hit $30. Oh my God. What would have happened when it hit $30? All these criminal banks would have gone under. Oh darn, that would have been such a bad thing for the banks. So what happens? That year, actually the year before, JP Morgan made $1 billion with a B, $billion trading gold and silver, rigging the gold and silver market. Thank you, Rustin Binham, the head of the CFTC. That's what we're fighting. That's what we're angry about. And that's why I think you should massively invest in silver because that's about to end. Cryptos are the future. I get that. Everybody should know cryptos are the future. Pick the ones you want. Get the right ones. But the past has to be fixed. And the past is the price suppression of the price of silver for the past 170 years. I don't know what the fair market value of silver is. I think it's 1-to-1 with gold. There's 6 billion ounces of silver in the world, and there's 6 billion ounces of gold in the world, so they say. That's 1-to-1. There is no other explanation other than the rigging of the silver market. So, having said all that, Andy got involved with a monster deal from Bill Holter. A billionaire looking, multi-billionaire probably, we don't know how many billions, was looking to buy silver and gold eagles specifically. Went to Bill Holter. Bill went to Andy and said, okay, can you do it? Can you get us $50 million worth of silver and gold eagles? She originally wanted 75% silver eagles. What's that? 30 something million. 35? No, yeah, 37.5. And then the rest in gold eagles. So I'm gonna let Andy explain to you what happened, why it's a big deal, and ultimately, I think she said she wants to spend up to $1 billion. I mean, the multi-billionaires are looking to get out of this crazy system as well. So, Andy, tell us a little about going on with that deal, and tell us about our drive up from Austin in the RV with Amy and the dog.
I just like sitting here listening to you, man. Get a lot more out of it. Good to be here, Bix. Thanks for having me.
You got to get close.
The drive was amazing. In fact, Bix blew my mind in ways that I can't even explain. Maybe I'll be able to explain it, but 6 hours in a Winnebago with Bix and Amy was a treasure. Seriously, I mean that seriously. No pun intended.
It was a treasure for us.
All kidding aside.
Oh my God.
It was amazing. The deal. So let's just first say the reason I'm talking about the deal. The client asked me to tell the world that getting money out of your bank account is not as easy as depositing it into your bank account. And this is a woman who had an incredibly large amount of money held in a bank, north of $50 million, $60 million in a bank account, and it took her 4 days to get it released. Had to threaten with calling the regulators to get them to release the money, and wanted me to tell the world. So Bill Holter called me on a Friday night, and he said, we're going to get a $50 million transaction. You hear me?
You got to get close. You got to make out with it.
All right, so Bill Holter called me on a Friday night, and he said, we're going to get a $50 million transaction. And I already had a couple of beers at that point, and I think I might have upset him a little bit. I said, there's no way, Billy. Okay, you're full of crap. But Bill is a very straight-shooting guy. He's a cowboy and a good friend. And I believe him, but I didn't believe the person talking to him was being straight with him, because you've been in this business long enough. I mean, ironically, I was with Bix on the way up here, and I had a client call me, or a person call me, and said they wanted to buy 17 metric tons a week. And that's the kind of stuff you get once in a while. And I figured this was exactly the exact same thing that was happening. Someone was pulling Bill's chain. I said, okay, Billy, sounds good. I believe you. It'll be nice to see if it happens on Monday. So Monday rolls around and we don't get a wire. And I call him around 4 o'clock. And I say, Bill, no wire showed up. Just thought you should know. He said, yeah, well, she went to the bank, was told that she couldn't send the wire because she needs to go to the main branch. Now, the main branch is in another state 4 hours away where her sister lives. So evidently she's going to drive and see her sister tonight, sleep over there, get it taken care of first thing tomorrow, Tuesday. Okay, Billy, sounds good. So Tuesday comes, 4 o'clock, don't get a wire. I say, Billy, no wire. He says, well, let me tell you something. She was in the bank all day in a back room. They did the full court press on her. They twisted her arm, said, are you sure you want to do this? And, oh, by the way, we can't even send the wire if we want to because the branch manager's not here. Now, she's getting furious. And she says, I'm going to come back tomorrow morning. If the branch manager isn't here and the wire's not sent, I'm calling the bank regulators. I'm going to go to the press. I'm going to tell everyone in the world about this. Okay, Billy, sounds good. So Wednesday morning comes nothing. About 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I call my operations. See, I live in Delray Beach, Florida. My operations is in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I left it specifically in Minnesota for all you out there because it's the only state in the country that regulates this industry. And I think that's part of the reason she wanted to work with us. We are one of the only major companies in America that's licensed and bonded. And she was flipping out at this point because it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, nearly at Eastern time. And evidently about 10 minutes later, my office gets a phone call from the bank. And it's a good thing I didn't take this call because the bank said, first of all, we want to validate your wire instructions. And okay, that's correct. And then they asked gal who answered the phone, is your company able to handle a transaction of this size? Had I answered the phone, I'd have said, what business is this of yours? I mean, you're a bank, right? This isn't your money. This is the client's money. When the client found out that this question was asked, she truly lost her mind. About 45 minutes later, we received a wire for $50 million. I had never sent her an invoice or an email, nothing. The reason that she wanted all American coins, a lot of people have asked me, why did she only buy Silver Eagles that have a $12 premium? She bought over 900,000 Silver Eagles. Do the math yourself, how much premium she paid. I want everyone to know that I'm currently paying $10.25 or $10.50 over spot right now to buy back Silver Eagles. So when you do the math, that's not in my pocket. All right, so if that's what I'm buying them back from the public for, you can get a better idea of what it costs to accumulate Eagles, and that spread between 10 and a quarter, 10.50, and $12. What if she called me back and said, I need to sell you 200,000 of them, and I have to pay a premium of 10 and a quarter or 10.50? That's $2.25 million that I have to pay out in premium that I cannot hedge. I can hedge the melt value with futures contracts, but that premium is unhedgeable. So it hangs me out to dry if things change, and they can change. Things change. The world changes like so fast these days that you can really be on the wrong side of the trade if you're not careful. So anyways, the reason she wanted all American Eagles, and I'm a U.S. mint distributor. I'm one of 27 in the world, authorized reseller. I had 92 or 3,000 Silver Eagles in stock, and I had that many in stock because I haven't had the stomach to sell them to the public for 2 years because they're too expensive. And in all the years I've done this, they've been just a little bit above the Maple Leaf and the Kruger and the Britannia and the Philharmonic and all of the other coins, 50, 75 cents. That's normal. What we see right now is a massive outlier. I tell people this is like 4 feet of snow out here tomorrow morning. And if you woke up to 4 feet of snow, I guarantee you people like Lisa and her husband who live here aren't going to run out and get a snowmobile. To go snowmobiling. They would understand it as an anomaly and it's probably going to melt real quick. Well, that's exactly what I thought 2 years ago when the premiums of Silver Eagles hit $11, $12, $13, $14, $15. They've never really come back down. Anyways, the reason she wanted them, a lot of people have asked me. I was at Rick Rule's show and Lobo Tigre is his name, Louis something. He's a newsletter writer. He came up and he tried to chew me out a little bit. I said, whoa, I had nothing to do with it. Bill wanted this client to have, the client wanted it. I said, are you sure this is what you want to do? And had they not taken the Eagles, they would have wiped out my entire inventory like that, gone, vaporized. So to give you an idea, me, JM, SD, AppMex, put them all together, you got $500 million in inventory, so it wouldn't take much to get rid of it all. But anyways, so Bill is Jim Sinclair's partner. Any of you who know Jim Sinclair, he was Mr. Gold in the 70s. Jim has told this publicly, told me at dinner in Connecticut a year ago, so I have no problem telling this to you all, why she wanted all American coins. Jim's family, Jim's last name is Seligman, his real name. His father is Murray Seligman, a very famous trader, Wall Street trader. Actually unwound the Hunt Brothers position, so he goes way back. He's well known in those circles, or was. Anyways, Jim told me that his family is related to the Goldman and Goldman Sachs. Told me this personally. He said there's going to be 2 resets, and Bix and I talked about this on the way here. And the first reset will be man-made, and I mean, if you really take a step back, you could argue we're in the midst of this man-made reset right now. He said that ain't going to work. This is what he was told by his Goldman family member, someone. Ain't gonna work, and when it breaks a second time, it'll be a Mother Nature reset. And when Mother Nature resets it, the U.S. government will confiscate everything that is not American in origin. Now, Bill and Jim have been talking to me about this.
I saw a whole bunch of eyes get very wide right there.
I've known about this for a while. I've gone on golf trips with Bill, and we hang out. He's a real fun person to hang out with, let me tell you, especially after about 19 beers. It really gets fun. We've discussed this for a while. Jim told me specifically a year ago at dinner, I have not been motivated to shed my American-made items, but when you listen to him, he's very convincing. Nonetheless, that is what the client wanted, and she bought 930,000 Silver Eagles, roughly, a little bit of junk silver, Peace and Morgan silver dollars, and $23 million worth of U.S. gold. And this was a test order. So we will see if we pass the test. But I had my company and my head trader, we've been doing it for 30 years. He knows everybody. I went to one other company who was the Godfather. No one really knows the Godfather. He kind of keeps to himself. I've known him my whole career by chance. The Godfather pretty much got the rest of this trade done in 24 hours, and he said to me he's never seen an order this big in 50 years. So I take two things away from this. Number one, doesn't matter how big of a client you are, the banks don't care. It's not your money. And you better have a damn good reason for getting it out. And this is before it gets dirty and greasy and scary. And when it gets scary and when everyone is thinking the same thing, are you a good enough client to get your money out? I was at this stupid bank in Florida, Truist. When I moved down there, I had to open up an account. It used to be BB&T. I use US Bank in Minnesota. They kind of suck too, but this bank really sucks. I've had nothing but aggravation with them. I went there to get $1,000 or $1,200 out because I was going to be on the road with Bix. I wanted some cash. Coincidentally, I drive by I'm staying across the street from the basketball stadium. It's a cashless venue. I mean, what's going on? Everyone's moving away from cash, I guess, or moving into a cashless society. But anyways, there was an old woman right next to me, and she said she needed $15,000 in cash, and the woman said, the teller said, well, we've had a lot of people withdrawing cash lately. I can give you $7,000 or $8,000. And I'm thinking, do people really stop and think about this? You have your life savings in a bank account, or a good portion of your wealth in a bank account. You can't even get but a fraction of it in cash if you need it. So anyways, the thrust of what she wanted us to know is that getting money out isn't easy. And she wanted us to know that big money is aware of what's happening and is transitioning away from traditional assets. One of the things Bix and I talked about too on the way here, you see the market roaring right now, coinciding with all-time high in insider selling. It's the same thing. The big money is leaving quietly while the little money has no clue. And the banks are making it hard to get out, and the U.S. Mint is making it hard to get out. U.S. Mint just told me 50% a decrease in allocation in gold for the second half of the year, and yet no one's buying gold. Everyone's buying silver, but they're going to cut production in gold now. The door is kind of closing around us. The noose is tightening around us little by little by little, and if you aren't paying attention, you won't even know it until you wake up and you're hanging from the noose.
So there I was driving with Andy Schectman from Austin up to Oklahoma City on the 35W. We had to stay on that 35W. And, Amy, when Amy's my co-pilot, she's always like, look out for this, look out for this. Andy's over here talking me to the deepest, darkest secrets of silver, and my mind is absolutely exploding because I am relating everything he said to the Road to Ruta documents, the original documents. Is there anything in those documents that say the United States of America is going to use gold and silver as currency again? Yes, there is. As a matter of fact, the Road to Ruta Teacher's Guide that the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston published, 65 questions. And my mind just went, I'm getting goosebumps right now. When I get goosebumps, I know I'm onto something. 65 questions about how a new monetary system would work. And they didn't have answers. The Federal Reserve of the United States of America doesn't even know what the hell's going to happen when the banks crash. They know they're going to crash. They just don't know what's going to happen. But some of the questions, just what he said, some of the questions were, number one, should individuals be allowed to own, they call them colored flowers, which is gold and silver as money. Should individuals be allowed to own gold and silver? Should the government take over the mines? This is all in the Federal Reserve documents. And they didn't have a question. But part of the reason I think there are good guys behind the scenes, some of those questions will, what will the people be agreeable to? What bank or government today says that? What will the people be agreeable to? No, they try to screw us every time we turn around. But these Fed documents are amazing because it's not like they're like, there's a lot of people, has anybody heard of NESRA or GESRA or the quantum financial system or the dinar revaluation? All this stuff is like new thoughts. Hey, here's how we fix it. Hey, here's how we fix it. The Fed has been thinking about this since 1913. 1913. They better have an answer, and they do. They have a way, but they're also cognizant of we, the people, control the United States of America in the end. Our government is going to be gone by then. The next time the government does something stupid, obviously every day they do something stupid, but something big, and the banks do something big, raise your hand if you'd be pissed off if you go to your bank and your ATM didn't work. On September 11th, 2008, we were 30 minutes away from that. 30 minutes. Had the Fed not bailed out the bank with $900 billion and then they leveraged it up to $20 trillion, we would have gone to our ATM and nobody would have got a penny out and it would have been done. Over. No 401k, no life insurance, no nothing. They know it's going to happen. I hope and pray and believe that they have a plan. I think the closer we get to it, the more how I see it can work. They're going to try this CBDC thing. Do not fall for it. Central bank digital currencies are a control mechanism by the banksters. I would submit to a CBDC if it was like Bitcoin, if it was open source software, it was a fixed quantity, if it was immutable, meaning you can't change the blockchain. All the things that make Bitcoin great, but the government would never, ever, ever, ever do that. So far from what they want. So what they're going to come out with is something else that controls you. I think it's just massive hyperinflation. If they come out with a CBDC and give you some of that, instantly turn it into physical silver and you win, in my opinion. So, when Andy told me that story about Jim Sinclair, he had the inside scoop on, the government is going to confiscate silver other than silver eagles, pre-65 coinage, anything the U.S. Mint made. Number one, they could never do it without paying fair market value. It's illegal. But they could do it by paying fair market value in fiat money. The fiat money, they don't even care. They say, oh yeah, give us your silver because industry needs it. They'll pay us whatever the going price of silver is, which will probably be low as they still rig the markets. I have a lot. On the way up, Andy was trying to buy all my silver eagles and my pre-65 coinage. Come on, Bix, give me some. But he told me the story. I'm like, and I related it to Road to Root. I'm like, no, I'm not getting rid of any of it. I'm not buying right now. I'm not buying silver eagles just because there's something in my craw that says you're paying over 50% premium for a stamp on a coin from a government you don't even believe.
Pretty much.
But at the same time, I can see how that would be something that we could go back to. He also talked to me, the bastard, about bail-ins. How I know I'd heard bail-ins were codified into law with Dodd-Frank. So after the 2008 crash and we bailed out the banks, they said, okay, no more bank bailouts. There'll be bail-ins where the bank takes your money. You get a haircut of, say, what they did in Cyprus is 50% haircut on your money. Now, I've heard that. I read the law. I didn't believe it. I said, no way people would agree to that. They would never agree to it. And it's true they wouldn't if it was for everybody. But then I read it again last night. I read the law, and it's only over the $250,000 FDIC insurance. So the mass of humanity will be saying, yeah, that's fine. I don't have $250,000 in the bank. Go ahead, bail it in. But who's going to lose that money? Yeah, the rich people. Some rich people didn't need it, but also these big corporations who, oh my God, it's like, what happens if they lose half their capital? And what are those companies providing, like the oil and gas companies? If they lose half their capital in their bank, how are they going to produce our oil? I mean, it all just falls upon itself, and it's such a hard thing to think about. I've been thinking about this since January 1st, 2007, when the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston posted these crazy Road to Ruta comic books on their website. And that's a long time to think about something and never come up with an answer. I've never done that. I can always figure stuff out. But this has been I can't even figure out, 15 years of thinking about this. And the reality is the Federal Reserve has 65 unanswered questions in those comic books. They can't figure it out either. Mankind has never been in this situation. We have a global, unbacked fiat monetary system with the United States' dollar as the world's reserve currency, and it's about to implode, and nobody knows what to do.
You know, one of the things that they implemented that same time that no one knows about is money market gating. A lot of people think they're safe. They've transitioned into the money market in their 401k. But the same day that they did bail-ins, they did the lesser-known gating clause, because when Lehman Brothers went bankrupt, most of the money markets were invested in Lehman Brothers, and so they started to go upside down. It's called breaking the buck. So they basically trap you in the system, is what they're talking about. Either they're going to take your money or you're going to be trapped in the system. So I think there's a lot of incentive right now to start extricating yourself from the system before things like this happen. You have to ask yourself, why would they ever have implemented bail-ins and gating legislation if it wasn't something that they saw coming down the pike? And when you see what's going on right now with the BRICS nations, with Saudi Arabia declaring that they're looks like they're going to join the BRICS nations, this is a very, 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 very big deal. And just ask yourselves, what happens if Saudi Arabia says to the rest of the world, thanks for the memories, we're going to issue oil in other currencies now that we're part of the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, China, India, South Africa. Being that they're being protected by Russia now in a joint military cooperation, that most people don't even know about that happened the day we left Afghanistan in a humiliating fashion. It was announced to the world that Russia is protecting Saudi Arabia and Nigeria. Subsequently, Nigeria is selling their oil to China for yuan. It's a yuan bond that is immediately convertible into gold on the Shanghai Gold Exchange. And Saudi Arabia is now, they say, contemplating. That means they're doing the exact same thing. What happens if all of a sudden the dollar is no longer the sole settlement for OPEC and rates start to spike? Like that, these things that Bix just mentioned, the bail-ins or the gating, they happen. And if you have more than $250,000, well, FDIC is a scam anyway, but you're in the system. So when Bix talks about having possession, removing counterparty risk, if you don't own it, if you don't have it in your possession, you don't own it, there's a lot to be said about that. Think of the lady who couldn't even get $8,000 out of the bank. She wanted 15. You know, this is a big deal. If you think you are wealthy in digital terms and you don't have possession, in your own possession, you have counterparty risk. I call that into question when things like this start to break.
We're going to do some Q&A with Andy. I know he's so freaking smart when it comes to so many things, metals and other stuff. So we're going to do some Q&A, but first, before we go there, we have a raffle that's going on. If you talk to Paige, wave your hand. She's way in the dark back there. Usually she's up front. This is kind of a funky setup here, but there she is. Come talk to Paige. Get a hat, get a music box. But there's a raffle, and we're raffling away some pretty cool stuff. We're raffling away a two-sided Road to Ruta coin. So when I had the new Road to Ruta coins made, the ones with the heart, it was supposed to be on the back, the normal back. It says, may the road you choose be the right road. They screwed up, and half of them were the front of the other coin. So we have some error coins back there that are part of the raffle, and anybody who renews their private road subscription or gets a new private road subscription, you get one of those cool double-sided error coins. And all of you collectors are going, oh my God, I can get, it's like an error baseball card or error comic book and all that. Anyway, so I would like, if you want to get in that raffle, we'll do it after Andy answers a bunch of questions. If you have a question for Andy, don't be shy, because usually in the beginning, people are a little shy, and then by the end, we can't get to all the questions. So if you have a question, raise your hand for Andy or myself or anything. Are there any questions from the crowd? All right. And keep raising your hands, and Josh will walk around with a mic. Hi.
Hello. Hey, I was just curious.
You got to talk into the mic. There you go.
I can't do any better. There we go. I was curious because, like, when the price goes up, I've heard you say on the computer a few times that, it becomes somewhat unattainable. Who am I gonna sell my silver to? My dealer won't. My dealer.
Andy will buy it.
Well, Andy might not be there either if he can't get any.
Well, he might not be there, but that's a great point. If the system breaks down, the banks aren't open, what would you sell your silver for? It might actually be a barter situation until they figure out what we're going to use as money.
I would agree.
But I don't think, ultimately, if you have a problem selling your silver, just call me, I'll buy it.
Here's my answer. If it gets that bad, you'll be bartering with it if all the markets break. But as long as there is a functioning COMEX or something like it.
I don't think the COMEX will be functioning.
Okay, well, if
your local dealer, get to know your. That's why I scream to everybody: get to know your local guy.
Here's why the local dealer can't buy it, and this is what differentiates a company like mine from a local dealer. I hedge, so I can buy $10 million worth of metal from you, and I can hedge it on COMEX. So let me put it to you this way. Let me show you what hedging means. This is a $10,000 or $10 million COMEX, or $10 million in COMEX contracts. This is $10 million in my inventory. If I hold it in my inventory, I sell this short. So if the price goes down on what I hold in my inventory, it goes up the exact same amount of what I sold short, and vice versa. I am market neutral. I don't care how big your order is. I can take it. I can hedge my exposure. The local coin dealer can't. These are the guys that call me when you're at the counter and you say, 1 second, I'll be right back. Andy, I got a guy in my desk right now who wants to sell $10 million. Can you lock it and hedge it? Done. Dude, boom, done. Now it's hedged and he can do it. But if they can't hedge it, if they pay you that money and walk out the door and the price of silver drops by $2, he's out of business for the rest of his life. He can't do it. So he's got to hedge it. Most small dealers don't hedge it. It's complex, and if you don't know what you're doing, you get killed. So
if you don't have $10 million worth of silver, you can call me.
You know what? Even if it's 10,000, even if it's 5,000, some dealers aren't able to do that. Local coin shops, they don't have that kind of cash, that kind of ability to do it. Maybe they've been buying a lot back from the public, and you walk in just like the lady at my bank could only get $8,000. They have limited ability. I can keep going and going and going because I have a huge margin account with the COMEX. As much as you want to sell, I can hedge, and that's why you'd work with a company like mine.
And I would like to say also, I'm a big guy about checking prices with everybody. Talk to your local guy. Talk to a couple of your local guys. Call Andy. It's just a phone call away. He'll tell you what he can do for you, and he's upfront shooter. You don't have to negotiate or anything. He'll give you an idea of where you're going to be, and then you can go to your local guy, and if he bids you a better price, great. If Andy can beat it, he'll do the deal.
He won't give you a better price.
He won't.
He'll give you a convenience price. And if I were going to Vegas with my buddies and I needed $2,000 and I wanted to sell a gold eagle, I'd go to the local coin guy too, and he'd give me cash. I wouldn't even give him my driver's license.
And Andy will swap the gold for silver for
I will.
What? I don't know, 80-something pieces of silver.
And I think that might be the best trade on the planet right now, actually.
Does anybody own gold, physical gold? Why? Why?
Because I'm
You
stupid,
can own
Uncle
80,
Bix.
90 ounces of silver. Are you crazy? Collectible baseball cards. I'd rather own that than gold. I love gold. I understand gold. But if you understand gold, you understand silver's massively better investment.
What are we looking at? Oh, I can't see that.
I see he's dripping with silver. He's got a little bit of gold.
Of course.
Okay, next question, please.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Hey,
He doesn't pay for
Absolutely.
jewelry. All right. Sit. You gotta get back
Right on, brother.
down, boy. Okay, next question, please.
Bix, I have a question.
Hi.
Tell me about the two providing systems in silver, an ounce of silver, the 135 and the one.
Well, I didn't hear it. What was the question?
Tell me about the two components in silver, the 135 and the 153.
Are you talking the Cliff High?
Yes,
Oh
yes.
my God. Who likes Cliff High? Is anybody? Oh my. Holy moly. I love Cliff High. He's talking about the molecular composition.
Yes.
of silver, and there's going to be two types, and one type's better than the other. It literally makes my head spin when I talk to Cliff, and I love him to death. By the way, he's doing fine. There was rumors he died. There's rumors he, whatever. The government took him. He's fine. He's up in Washington. He's working on his flying RV. He's fine. Part of Cliff's data saw that there will be a discovery, and actually the discovery was already made. The molecular components of silver. There's some silver that has, it was like, 35 or 36 or some. I am the worst guy to talk about this on the planet, other than I like to say, it's so true, Cliff said it. That's not always right, but usually it is. But that has to do with the electronic capabilities of silver. Silver is the best conductor of electricity. Is Jenny Moonstone here? Where is she?
She's here. I saw her.
She's over there. We'll get her up here in a minute. It's also the best conductor of spiritual electricity. You can laugh all you want. She's damn right about that. Silver is a spiritual metal. It is. When you get into the spiritual world, it's funny because some people are like, okay, I need to touch it to really understand it. Bitcoin will take you out of that frame of mind. There is a conceptual thing. When it gets to spirit, when it gets to consciousness, when it gets to what in the hell is going on spiritually and through ETs and all that stuff, I love to go down that path. But at every level, silver has that capability of transmitting amazing spiritual properties to your physical body. And I'll talk to Jenny about that. And that's why we have our silver daggers. Hold that baby up. And we will be, when Jenny gets up here, we'll be unveiling a new dagger. It's Ruda's dagger. Ruda got a dagger and is very excited about that. But yes, that question, I will refer you to cliff@roadtoruda.com or cliff@cliffhigh.com or cliff@halfpasthuman.com. I love when lately he's been doing like audio stuff and on BitChute, and he always starts with the best saying. He says, "Hello, humans." Hello, humans. It like encapsulates everything about humanity, and it means so much. Coming from Cliff, hello, humans. So I don't have an answer to your question, but Cliff says there are two components within the molecular biology or whatever it is of silver, and one of them will be extremely useful in the future. Probably has to do with his flying RVs and stuff like that. Okay, next question, please.
Right here, Bix.
Hello, can you speak just a little bit about having a self-directed IRA in metals held in a vault, a non-bank vault?
Oh, where were you in Austin?
Part one. And part two, if you have some of those metals in gold, how would you take those out of the vault to turn them into silver?
Okay. Andy can also speak to this, so we'll get to Andy in a second, but Will Lair from Perpetual Assets is our partner on the self-directed IRAs. He's helped a lot of people. You can contact him, will@perpetualassets.com. From my understanding, you can create a self-directed IRA, but you have to have a third party to hold the metal. And that changed. They didn't have that rule. It changed. It screwed everything up. But Andy deals with that as well, a little bit, or a lot of it. I don't know. Andy, you want to just dive in a little bit there?
Yeah, you have to. Bix is right. It has to be held by a third-party depository. So the two companies, and Will's a great source, don't get me wrong. So the two companies that I do most of my with, Will does LLCs. He does something a little bit different than what I do. The way that I do it, I work directly with the IRA custodians. I work with all of them, but the ones that I do most with are New Direction in Louisville, Colorado. Their website is ndtco.com, as in newdirectiontrustco.com. And the other
But you already have an IRA in it, right? Okay.
Who's your custodian? probably Gold Star Trust, maybe. It doesn't matter. So, okay, so your question is, how do you trade gold to silver? Is that your primary question?
There, I mean, I can answer that one. At the end of the day, all third parties are risky. There are levels of risk, and depending on how bad the system's going to get, at the end of the day, if everything goes to shit, they all go. They're all, and it's a centralization place for the government to come in and take it, or pay you fair market value. You know, if the government comes in and says, we're nationalizing, but we're paying you fair market value. And by the way, the last COMEX trade before it shut down was $20. So here's $20 for your silver. And the next day, it's worth $50,000. They did it in 1933 with the confiscation of gold. They confiscated gold at $20, and instantly they turned it into $35. So do not trust your government. But if you have to have it there, they probably have a way you can swap the gold for silver. In the LLC, you can do that because you're the manager of that trust and you can make that trade.
You can do it in the IRA. See, the reason everyone had these LLCs originally was that they could be their own depository, but the IRS ruled on that last year, and they hung a couple out to dry who had taken possession through an LLC of their metals the day they took possession, which was 4 or 5 years earlier. The IRS ruled that as a distribution, a taxable event, and they had to pay all sorts of penalties and taxes. So you're not allowed to allow anyone else custodianship. Within the IRA, you can move from any investment to any investment, whether it be gold to silver, or silver to gold, or gold to common stock, or
cryptos,
silver, whatever. It
Or
doesn't
cryptos.
matter what you move in and out of. There's no taxes if it's under the umbrella. So the answer is yes. It would be very easy for us to buy your gold within the IRA, convert it to silver, send it back to the depository. But just remember that you have the ability to do what's called an in-kind distribution or an in-kind liquidation, where you liquidate your IRA or distribute your IRA, taxable event, give me back all the silver you're holding for me. So the only thing that I would say to you, if you're storing it in a depository, I have a very great Brinks program, but can't do it in the IRAs. And to my knowledge, Brinks does not segregate IRA silver within the IRA. There are only a couple that do, Dakota Depository and IDS of Dallas and also IDS of Delaware. They will physically segregate your silver. So if you know what's going to hit the fan, you can say, send me back all of my stuff that you have hold.
Pay me my silver now.
Yeah.
Where have we heard
the
that
answer is
before?
yes, we can do it. Strata, they're all the same. So you have to leave it within the depository held by the custodian. Just know that you can take distributions when you want, and you could call us and say, I have X amount in gold, I'd like to sell it and buy silver. We'll do that all for you, intra-depository. There's no taxes and pretty easy to do.
All right, thank you. Joshua, here we go.
Andy, as Western governments collapse, and it sure feels like that's the process going on now, what is the danger that their mints would start amalgamating and in essence inflating the metal by amalgamating it with cheaper metals or something like that and then selling it to you as .999?
I don't think that'll happen. I think they'll just stop allowing metal to be sold. There's only really 2 major mints in the West. I mean, if you call it, I guess you could call the UK the West. But I mean, if you're talking North America, it's US and Canada. On the other side of the pond, you got Australia, Austria, UK, South Africa. That's it. There's 6 major mints. Mexico and China amount to nothing. US is the model of inefficiency. Canada's almost there. You got Australia, Austria, and South Africa. And if this starts to happen, if things start to get funky, I think they'll just stop selling it to the West. They'll nationalize it or keep it themselves or sell it to their public. I don't think that would be as much of an issue as much as it is just shutting off the supply. You can see the U.S. Mint is kind of doing that right now. I mean, there is no reason in God's green earth for them to say, we're going to curtail production of gold by 50% in the second half of this year. In the last 3 years, we've had record years, and 98% of everything we've done has been in silver. So why curtail gold? They're just making it because I think a lot of people are getting scared and are moving to gold, people who aren't tuned into silver yet, because I think people who are just waking up to what's happening think of gold first. That's kind of the way we've all been taught. And I think they're making it difficult for the big money like this $50 million lady to exit stage left. So I just think they'll close the door before they start to dilute the metal and lose all credibility globally.
I agree with that 1,000%. I think the U.S. Mint is massively full of patriots, not the management of the mint. A woman named I'll screw up her name. Vitris Gibson, I believe now, is the controller of the mint. She was put there last year after David Ryder left. David Ryder was the head of the mint in the early 90s. True patriot American. He's the one who decided to put that little security feature on the bottom of the gold and silver eagles. Nobody knows what it's for. It's a little blank spot. It's preparing us for what's coming. And he left, I think it was July of last year, and they put Vitris Gibson in there. And Vitris Gibson is an interesting character. She's extremely decorated professional in the HR division.
Yeah.
Human resources. She's never even probably seen a silver eagle in her life, and they put her as the head of the U.S. Mint. I know people at the U.S. Mint who are just tried and true patriots. They would never, ever, ever, ever try to dilute the coinage of the United States of America. That's like one of the most important parts of America, is that we have this constitutional money of gold and silver. It is so inbred in who we are. I know our government's fucked up right now. I know there are horrific people in government. I know that 2/3 of our Congress is pedophiles, literally. And that is not a conspiracy theory, that's a conspiracy fact. So there are people we need to get rid of in government badly. But at the U.S. Mint, they're solid, literally solid. They are being told not to make gold eagles. They're being told not to make silver eagles. They could make up to 50, probably 100 million a year if America said, if Janet Yellen, our Treasury Secretary, I met Janet Yellen 2001. Pathetic. She was the head of the San Francisco Fed. And she's telling, I went to a small conference of maybe 30 bankers. She told everybody, put all your money into China because China's the future. This is the head of the Fed in San Francisco. I'm like, what are you talking about? No country has even survived when they offshore their manufacturing. Why would we do that? And look what we did. And now we're screwed. When China shuts us off, which they've already started, what are we going to do? Actually, we'll be better off because we'll have to rebuild our manufacturing. We'd shut our borders. Globalization would end. The banks would get destroyed, and we get to start again.
I heard Beijing broke diplomatic ties this evening. Dead serious.
I have no doubt. Nancy Pelosi going to Taiwan. I'd like to think it's like the dumbest thing. That would be great to think it's the dumbest thing ever any politician has ever done. I think it was done on purpose. I think it was done to end the trade between the United States and China. And I think at the end of the day, we're going to get to make products again because we're fucked. We don't have anything. What? The queen of conspiracy says I'm right down her alley. I love conspiracies. I just like to prove that they're right, and this one's right. I think Trump and Putin and Xi got together a long time ago and said, here's how we take down the cabal of pedophiles and assholes that control all of us. And I think first it was Trump being the asshole. Second, it's Putin being the asshole. He's almost done with that. Now it's Xi's going to be the asshole. He's going to shut off all the exports, which I heard they just did by closing down the strait between Taiwan and China. We're at the end game. We're at the end game. Get your assets in your own possession. It's the only way to go. Woo. Ladies and gentlemen, look at that man with a very colorful shirt over there. That's Bitcoin Ben. Any other? We got one more question for Andy Schectman, or me, or what you got?
I was wondering, I've got a local dealer in Tulsa, and I'd go in there and buy with cash. And one time I stopped and said, we don't take cash for American Eagles anymore.
What?
Now they're back up. I can only buy $2,000 at a time. What would be the reason for that? Is that just maybe a local store? Or why is he just taking?
He just filled a $50 million order.
I know.
The reason they're not taking cash is they get heat from their bank. We used to take cash up to 10 grand, and we got lots of the gals in my office would go there and they would make them provide their social security number. And I said, you tell the bank this isn't you. Give them our EIN number, our business, our tax ID number. There's nothing. Nope. They would make the gals in my office give their and they got freaked out. The bank started making it very, very difficult, and more or less said, we don't want you to take cash anymore. So I think it has to do with AML and KYC. That means anti-money laundering and know your client. The world is moving away from that, unfortunately.
And then one other thing, like that lady that bought $50 million, maybe going to buy $1 billion. Say like an individual wanted to buy $1 million silver from you. I listened to a guy on the internet that says if it's not in your possession, it's not yours.
That was me.
Oh, that's right. So if I bought $1 million from you, how would you handle that?
Easily. $1 million in gold, you could be
Silver.
I know
Silver.
that, but I'm saying $1 million in gold you could have in a briefcase under your chair right now, and not a person in this room would know it. $1 million in silver, because you're talking 35 pounds. $1 million in silver, you're talking
2,500 pounds.
Yeah, a couple thousand pounds. It's going to be it's a couple of pallets. However, not a problem at all. I could have it filled in the morning with Britannias or Kangaroos or Philharmonics or kilo silver bars or 100-ounce bars. But let me just put it to you this way. We keep 50 million, 70 million in inventory at any given time, and then it's rotating. So when you talk about me being able to do it now, and we're up here saying it's going to be hard to find product, ultimately I still stick to that. We're able to fill the order, but it's getting tougher and tougher and tougher, and if more and more people say this is the route we want to go as things start to get crazy, getting it when it becomes obvious will be too late. So the time to get it is to trust your gut, be your own financial advisor, realize that by the time your eyes agree with your mind, you're too late. So I think right now there's still decent availability, but I think as things get more and more difficult, it's going to kind of to the point what the U.S. Mint is doing and what would happen if things got funky. I said the mints will just shut off supply. They will. So I would, if you want to do it, contact me. No one in America will beat my price. Nobody. Not JM, not SD, not Atmex, not nobody. You call me, I'll make sure of that.
So how do you ship that?
We would ship it by UPS insured over several packages. Or
I've gotten, my UPS guy freaking hates me. They come in these, they're pretty heavy. The packages are heavy, mind you. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Andy Schectman has been an amazing friend to Road to Ruta, has helped so many of you guys and our customers everywhere, and is just a wonderful man. Thank you, Andy, for all you do.
I love you, Bixie. Thank you. Got my cue to go? I guess I got to go. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Bixie.
You're welcome.